My guest today is creative entrepreneur and a leading and prominent voice in Africa's art and luxury sectors. She is founder of the art and luxury consultancy NichLuxe and the global community Women Who Collect. Her name is Annicia Manyaapelo. Why don't you use Kilebochile?
I almost said Annicia Kilebochile to edit in there, and then I was like, did I send you guys my full name? I do use Kilebochile. I love Kilebochile, but it's such a special name to me that only people who really know me are allowed to use it.
It's like the home name.
Yeah, I feel like Annicia is like my work name, you know, your DJ name.
Where did the name come from, Annicia?
My mom read it in a book and she loved the character so much. And she told me that it's Persian. She was very specific about that. My mom died over 20 years ago, so I never got to ask her which book. And I'm forever searching for this book.
I found references it in Roman families.
Right.
Particularly around nobility.
Oh, okay. Did you?
Yeah, and I was just because I've always been curious. It's not, it's not a common name.
No. The spelling is quite different from. There's Annicia with an Nisha, and that's the common one. But yeah, so that's the one thing I wish I could ask her, the name of the book. But maybe that's my mission, is to find this book.
I'm thinking 20 years ago. It must be, how old were you?
26.
Yeah, like
20. Yeah, over 20 years ago. So she died. It's 22 years now. Wow.
Yeah, no, time does move.
Can't believe that.
So I was thinking about something the other day. Sounds a little morbid, but just because you're talking about the loss of your mother. And I was just, so my mother died when I was 14 months.
Ooh, that's heavy.
And so I was thinking about, how do you grieve for something or someone you didn't really know?
No. But in a way you did.
Yeah.
Because her blood, her DNA, her soul lives on in you. So you are kind of forever attached to her. So you may not have known her, but you know her. You actually probably know her more than other people who spent time with her and knew her.
What was home like growing up?
Not great. Not gonna lie about that. I had a very, very, very tough childhood. I come from one of those dysfunctional homes. Mother, father, married, yes. I've got two brothers. I'm the only girl in the middle. So older brother, younger brother. Mother, father, the five of us, but a very abusive man, my father, physically abusive. Yeah. And so my childhood wasn't great. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I know when we all say, oh my God, I wish I could go back to childhood. No, not for me. I wanted so badly to escape my childhood.
And what were the forms of escape that you had as a child? Did you have forms of escape?
Yeah, I did books, music. And that's from my mother. My mother was an avid reader. So I get it when she says she found my name in a book.
Yeah.
And she named me after a character that she loved. I feel like I sucked the love of books and storytelling and so forth from her breast milk. That's literally how I feel about that. I remember when I was in high school, she would take the books, the books that we were given to read and whatever, and she would read them and we would read them. And my mother was funny. She used to give people names, like funny names or whatever. So she would name people. There was this one book, I can't remember, in Senate 6. Sorry to the young ones. I went to school during those days. I was standard, whatever. In standard 6, I can't remember the name of the book, but there was a character called Dada, and we lived in this house. We were renting a house owned by this old man, and we ended up calling him Dada because he was very similar to the character in the book. So yeah, my mother loved books, and she kind of, so books were an escape. Music was an escape. I used to listen to, remember Romeo Kumalo's Saturday Top on Metro. Top,
Yeah.
was it top? Yeah, top. Yeah, that was my thing. Hey, I used to literally sit with the speaker and just that top 40, and yeah, it's great that I'm friends with Romeo now. He doesn't even know the story, but yeah, that was a good escape for me.
It is an interesting evolution in terms of this city, and I've had multiple guests who've kind of talked about like the culture of the city, how the city has evolved over the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Where so many people that will look up to. Yeah. You're now occupying the same spaces as them.
It's beautiful.
And it's I was actually thinking about Shadow Twala.
Yes, Mom Shadow.
Because I went to university in Durban.
Okay.
And I remember they used to come and play at a club that I used to hang out at. And I was friends with the PR guy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I used to hang out there, and it was Shadow Twala, Ian Segola,
yes,
and somebody else. And they used, I think maybe even Bob Mabena. Mm. And, once a month or once every 2 months, they'd come down to DJ there. And now having interacted with her and knowing her, and even like Bob Mabena before he passed, I got to know Bob relatively well.
Same.
And it's just it's weird. I was in Lesotho, and all of a sudden I'm in Joburg, and I'm part of, in my own way, part of these people.
Yes, how amazing.
Where did you grow up?
Soweto.
Okay.
Yeah, born, bred, buttered, toasted, everything. I was born Kotladi.
Okay.
Deep inside. When people think Soweto, they think deep Kloof, I'm deep.
Orlando West.
Yeah, no, I'm deep in there. So Tladi is next to Zola. For those who need reference, because I think Zola then became famous and people know Zola, but people don't know about Tladi, Mletsane, etc. But deep there. I was literally born go Tladi Clinic. Yeah.
You can go back and trace exactly.
Yeah, because that's my maternal family home.
Okay.
So my family is still there. So in July, my aunt had passed, so we were there, and I was there for the first time in a long time, and I'm like, this is the clinic where I was born.
What did you want to be when you grew up? If I'd met you then, if I'd met you 13, 14, 15-year-old, and I asked you, do you have an idea of what you want to be?
It's definitely not anything near what I'm doing now. I was one of those very smart kids in school. I was even promoted standard 3 to standard 5. I didn't do standard 4, I was those. And then I was chosen as part of the gifted child program, where I used to go to a Saturday school. They choose the cleverest kids in Soweto and Alexander, I remember. It was part of an NGO called Gifted Child Program, and they were trying to facilitate taking helping you bridge the gap, because their whole thinking was that, all these above average students, you end up losing them to the system because the education system is not challenging enough, which was true, So they would give us extra classes just to get us to the level of the international education. So extra English and maths and science classes on Saturdays. I used to do that at Funda Center. So there was always, and back then, those who grew up around that time will remember, we were divided into number one to number whatever does science, number whatever to the middle, let's say the C's do, the A's and the B's do science, and the C's and the D's do history. And then the rest do woodwork and whatever. It was such a weird, it had nothing to do with your interest or whatever. We were divided based on. So I was always expected to do something with maths and science because I was actually quite good at them. And when I finished school, I actually went to go study programming at Pretoria Tech.
Why Pretoria?
Because right at that time, it was... Remember when we had technicons, it was in terms of programming, I think it had positioned itself as a very good school. So that was the direction I was going. And then it took a left turn.
I mean, it sounds like, it sounds like you were kind of just focused on whatever opportunities in front of you.
Yes.
Like, oh, there's this.
Yeah.
I've studied this. Oh, I can study that.
Yes. And there was also that expectation, from the teachers and they were like science. There was that whole thing about, I knew I don't want to be a doctor because I am scared of, I can't. But yeah, and also I love science. I love sci-fi. I love, even now, I'm a big fan of anything science related. My mind gravitates towards that. And I work in the arts.
Yeah.
So that's so... Yeah. And
your past work has been in
in
like
media,
comms,
marketing. Yes. So something happened and I had to leave that course and go back and work. And I got a job at an ad agency. That's how this marketing thing then took over my life. And then I followed that communications trajectory.
So I was looking at your background, just in terms of work. And what I found interesting was you're doing like 2 years, year and a half, 2 years, until you started focusing on your own business. One could question how committed you are to following through. What was that period of your life like?
I think the one you missed is SABC. I stayed the longest there, 6 years.
That was the start?
Yeah.
Or that was early days?
Early days, yeah. I think I was searching. For something, After spending 6 years at the SABC, I feel like that was my university, if you like, In this space, it's kind of like, we always used to say marketers, if you've gone through Unilever, you've gone through the University of Marketing. If you've gone through SABC, you've gone through the University of Media, whether it's radio or TV. But post that, I knew that there's something else I'm supposed to do, but I don't know what it is. So I kept going here, trying. And I'm that type of person that I've always had a very strong relationship with my inner self.
Okay.
I write a lot. Even today, I started young thinking, I'm writing in a diary. A diary became a journal, and I still keep a journal to this day. I speak a lot to myself, and I speak to the universe I write every day, every night. Like, I write my thoughts. And I was always searching. I always felt like there was something more. So when I was at the SABC, I was very successful, very young. I was promoted to be a manager at the age of 24, 25, and managing people who were much older than me. I became a channel champion for SABC 3. A very serious management position. And I did that. But there was always, I felt like a fraud, which is ridiculous, right? Because it's not like I wasn't doing it. I was doing a great job. I mean, I excelled at the SABC. But I felt like a fraud because I was like, I'm earning so much money. I'm so young. I'm doing so well. Yet I'm just selling airtime. because I was in the sales and marketing. It just felt wrong to me. Like something about it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not saving lives, you know? So I remember saying to myself, I want to find my purpose. Like, wow, something that I feel. I used to watch Oprah and I'm like, how lucky it is to do something that you love, that you know is your purpose and you're changing lives or something, and you're getting paid for it. So there was that challenge that I had with myself. Now I look back, I'm like, Ish, I wish I could have that money, that SABC money back.
But in a way, the fact that it happened young puts you in a position to start to think about those things.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're all on different journeys, right? And I mean, so for me, the idea of kind of following my passion is not something that I engage with.
Really?
Yeah, and it's funny because Kitty's the only person I've had a conversation with on the podcast, and her and I have
a similar
work with the same lens, right?
Yet you guys do things in the creative space where you would assume that you are following your passion.
So it's what's labeled as passion that becomes. So I gave her the example of when I was a Destiny Man, and people like, oh, like you're an editor and you write for a living. So you're doing your passion. Must be great. And I'm like, if I don't write, my children don't eat.
So it's for you, it's a job.
I'm not. It's one of the things I'm capable of doing, and it's the thing I've chosen to pursue. So I approach it the way I approach anything. So I was like, I'm a mechanic. I'm like a mechanic. I just work with words.
Wow.
What I'm passionate about is my lifestyle, my family.
Yeah.
Like I work to ensure that I can create that. But the work itself is not the passion. Which is
that's so interesting.
Which I've realized over time it's a bit left field for a lot of people.
And it's not wrong because like I say, I think I also think we grow up with that positive mindset, follow your passion, And I agree with what you're saying in a sense that today when I speak to young people, I don't say follow your passion. Because that's dangerous, People have to eat, people have to live. There's dignity in work. Now that's what I say now. Work, get a job, get experience, get your life together, get your basics taken care of. I work with artists and it pains me that artists create from such difficult circumstances, where they are not creating from a full plate. They create from starvation, from survival, from hunger, from difficulty. I don't like that. And I think as a world, we need to protect artists because they give us so much. Yet the environment doesn't protect them. The systems we have around creativity and artistry doesn't support them. Now I say artists should be paid like LeBron James. I believe that with all of my heart. He's an athlete, he's making a lot of money. And people who love that sport, he's probably making a difference in their lives. Artists do exactly the same thing. They dig deep to bring out, to tell a story that reflects our lives, that touch us so deeply, yet they don't live. They should be living like superstars. That's what I believe now. And it took me going through a journey. And I wish when I was younger, I could have said, I like the comfortable life and the money because I do, and I still do. Yet I still want to pursue, I had to learn the hard way because having lost everything, starting over, and I wouldn't advise anyone to do that.
Yeah, I hear you. So I hear you, the two parts to it. So the one part is I really believe that the experiences that we go through, they take us, or they put us in the frame of mind to understand. So the things that you're talking about in terms of how you viewed it then versus how you viewed it now. If you hadn't gone through those experiences, you wouldn't have the particular insights. So the particular insights that you have come from the experiences that you've gone through.
Correct.
Positive and negative.
negative.
And if you haven't gone through that, so I do that. Like, I look at the experiences I've gone through, and I look at how I see the world and how I live my life today. And I recognize that all led me to this point.
Yeah.
So, that's the one part. The other part that's interesting about, if you look at art in general, and I read a lot of stuff. So I was reading something recently where, if we look at it, kind of, your Michelangelos, your Da Vinci's, etc., artists had a patron. So an artist would have a patron who covers the cost of their lives to give them room to be able to create without the pressure of survival.
Yes.
In other parts of the world, I mean, there's been like evolution of grants. Like, I have friends who are directors, and in Europe or in Canada, and they can tap into a grant to produce something. And this covers them to shoot and to live for 6 months, for example.
Correct.
And unfortunately, we are not in that environment.
And isn't that sad?
It's sad. It is sad.
And a missed opportunity, I think.
It is sad, but I think there's also, you are evidently and obviously taking it up, but there's a responsibility with seeing where the challenges are.
Yeah.
Right? So, because we can all sit back and go, it's sad, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
But to get it to how it should be, who is supposed to start that process?
Agreed. And I think that's how I ended up studying Women Who Collect. My whole thing was about exactly the patronage thing. But I am very much doing it from a matronage point of view, right? Because I know I'm jumping the gun.
No. We're having a conversation.
but I was at Zeitsmoker, right? And people don't know that my relationship with Zeitsmoker is way longer than what's on my CV. When I moved to Cape Town in 13? It's that year when Cape Town was the design capital of the year.
Yes, yeah.
So I had just left Elle magazine at the time. Times Media, remember, that's just about the time when they wanted to sell Elle, and then I dipped because I had gone there specifically to work for Elle magazine.
And my former boss eventually took it over.
Yes, yeah. Before that, I was like, let me go. And then I moved to Cape Town, no plan, no anything. But I wanted to tap into that design capital and I said to myself, I've got nothing to lose. I'm just going to move to Cape Town, no job, no anything. I'll figure it out. I'm that kind of person. I follow my curiosity. That's something I love about myself. And I'm not scared of challenges, new environments, put me anywhere. To quote Jay-Z, on earth and I will, what does he say? Put me on anywhere and I will lead the pack somewhere, something like that. So I packed my bags. Friends said, don't do it. It's not going to work. You'll be back in no time. Cape Town is difficult. Cape Town is racist. You're not going to make it.
Cape Town is cliquey.
It's cliquey.
There's the standard.
There's
a list of stuff
like I was told by everyone, including my family. Everybody was like, don't go to Cape Town. Don't. Ibile, you don't have a job. You don't have this. You don't have that. I was like, guys, I'm following something that I can't explain, right? I moved to Cape Town around that time. I had the idea of NichLuxe, what I wanted to do with NichLuxe, but it wasn't fully formed as an idea. And then it so happened that I got introduced to Mark Coetzee, who had just moved to Cape Town from living in Miami to start the process of building Zeitsmoker. You know? So I always say the art world kind of found me. I didn't go looking for it, you know? And through that, he invited me to be on the fundraising committee of Zeitsmoker to raise funds for the building of the museum. So for 2 years, I worked, we used to do like a red carpet event similar to the Met to raise funds to build the museum. We used to entertain collectors. I remember we used to wear hard hats while it was still a construction site, taking collectors. So that's how I got into the art world, Then I called in my corporate friends to invest. So it tapped into that relationship for me. So that's how long my relationship. I look at Zeitsmoker, I'm like, part of my blood, sweat, and tears are somewhere in this building, And then I moved back to Joburg, worked at FCB. Then Zeitz called again, 2019. Then 2020 happened, and the museum closed. I decided to leave. But one of the things that I was very curious about is once I had started working at the museum, I realized the importance of a collector. Going back to the thing that you were saying about supporting artists, right? From a museum point of view, a collector is such an important part of the ecosystem. When at the museum you're thinking about exhibiting a work or showcasing an artist or doing a retrospective, the first people we think about are the collectors of that particular artist. We look for them all over the world because sometimes the museum has to borrow the work if you're doing like a retrospective from the collectors, to be able to tell a coherent story. So you have to have a relationship with who the collectors are, who are the people who've been supporting this artist's work and so forth, And I realized that in South Africa, the collector is white, older, and male. And unfortunately, that's a dying breed. We cannot the ecosystem of art cannot depend on that.
Yeah, because the next generation is not.
Exactly. So we have to bring younger people as collectors. We have to bring women. We have to bring Black people as collectors. I chose women because it's who I am. It's my friends. And my friends who are still in corporate are like, what are you doing in the art? And I know they've got the disposable income, but they don't know they don't even feel comfortable walking into a gallery because we also in the art world treat art like this thing where you need a PhD to be able to walk into a gallery and buy an artwork, And because my portfolio at Zeitsmoker, I was heading up a section called IA, not AI, I always have to correct myself, which is institutional advancement. So marketing, comms, events, partnerships, sponsorships, all that fell under my portfolio. So how we speak about it to the outside world, how we bring in collectors, eventing, all of that. And I come from the marketing background of the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, which doesn't work in an art world because, the language from the curatorial is always very like scholarly and very, So there's always that clash, not in a bad way, but there's always that clash between us in comms and the curatorial team in terms of how we talk about art. So that's where I was like, that's the space I want to occupy. And then I went to start Women Who Collect.
How much has Women Who Collect been part of your journey of learning the language of the space? Because I can imagine it feels like those are running parallel. Because I mean, you're talking about it now, but it's clear, you have hindsight. But I can imagine starting out where the reason why you went for these people is because that's your community as it is.
Yes.
And they need to learn about the space.
Yeah.
You are literally just a step ahead. Like once, you're that one step ahead.
Yeah.
You're not way down.
No.
You're just one step ahead. So what was that process like in terms of learning and then imparting at the same time?
And I'll answer it by saying it's the kind of person I am. I like sharing. I like bringing other people with. I believe in. I'm very much a connector. Somebody said I'm the plug, and I like that. I like bringing people with. Like I'm saying, when Mark and Elana Brundane brought me on to work with them on the fundraising of I reached out and brought, the community that I know, that they may not know art, but they are in marketing. They've got these brands. They are also my peers. Let's go. Let's do this. I love bringing people along, and I share with my friends, with people close to me, and so I think it became not so much a strategy, but a very natural progression, just because that's the kind of person I am. I like learning and sharing and passing on information. You asked me earlier, did I know? I think the universe weaved it such that I'm not sitting behind a desk creating programming, because that's really what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Writing code, because I studied a little bit of it before I stopped going to school and going back to work. But I get it. C++, Cobalt, I know that language. I'm sure it's evolved now to AI and whatever. But that was what I wanted to do, write programming. But that's somebody who sits behind a desk and they sit with their earphones and don't interact with life, with people. But, the universe had a different plan, because that's really my personality.
But I can also imagine the fact that you wanted to do programming and approach the way of approaching programming. I find that as human beings we'll take something that seems very unlikely and apply a certain way of thinking and a certain way of processing to other spaces.
Yes.
Because the days of everything being so compartmentalized and specialized are kind of beyond us.
Yeah.
Like they're in the background.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I was never good at maths, but it's as an adult that I recognized what maths actually does, which is it helps with problem solving. It helps with approaching problems a particular way.
Yeah.
I'm still useless at maths. But there are certain things or certain ways that I process information and I process the world and I approach problems that I can say, oh, that comes from maths.
Yeah.
And having children who are now doing maths at a very different, different era. Like it's a couple of generations between me and my kids. And watching how they're being taught maths. And the basics of them being taught maths was there's like four ways of coming to an answer, or 5 ways of coming to an answer. I can't remember which one it is. It's called like number sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So when I was growing up, my father and I had an argument about division.
Okay.
Because when I was growing up, when you're dividing a number, you write the number, then you have the little, half moon, and then the line on top.
Yes.
When my father was taught that the line was on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
And I was taught that the line was on the top.
Yes, like me, same as me.
And then, well, my father went to high school in the 40s.
Yeah, okay.
And 50s, right? But we had an argument because I'm like, the teacher says it must be done this way. And he's like, no, but you can do it this way.
This way also.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas with my kids, I found they would say to us, the leaflets explaining how to help our children with homework, because they'll teach them 5 ways of coming to an answer. And they must just figure out the way that's
I love
most
that.
comfortable for them.
I love that.
And I found that
Wow.
when adding and stuff, I naturally do that.
Yeah.
I've naturally done that my whole
Your
life.
whole life.
I was never good at
Without even thinking
yeah.
about
because
where it comes from.
because I approach what I do is I find my method in things.
Yeah. Wow.
So if you explain something to me, I may not necessarily take the steps that you are taking.
Yeah.
Because I need to internalize it and figure out my
Yes.
steps. So it's understanding that when you talk about programming, for
Yeah.
example, like I can imagine somebody who understands both would be able to say, oh no, the way you're approaching art, the way you're approaching luxury, the way you're approaching an event, there are seeds or there are
Yeah.
little threads that come from
Yeah.
programming,
That's so
which
true.
seems totally
Yeah.
unrelated.
Yeah. And you know, the thing about programming is world building.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. If you think about when I started NichLuxe, which is what I really started, you know, my art and luxury, it's really about, I really started when African luxury was not a thing. And I still remember there are certain people where we kind of started having these conversations, whether they were in Nigeria, in London. There was this one starting in the East, and there was this talk. It's as if, you know the thing about ideas, it's as if an idea, when its time has come,
Yeah.
it, and I see them now having started. One of them is Yinka Ilori in London. I don't know if you know Yinka.
Yeah, I know.
When I started NichLuxe, I was in conversation with Yinka, and he was starting his practice. That's when he started with the chairs, if
Yeah.
you remember. I even went to London and I met with him, and our friendship started then because we were figuring ourselves out in this African luxury space. And what does that mean? And it's world building. It's building something new. That's why I'm not scared of new things, because
Yeah.
even programming, you're really building a new reality that doesn't exist yet. And I don't think people realize that that's what we do, all of us as humans, all the time. We are creators.
And I mean, you were saying you've always been fascinated by sci-fi,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
Whether you're writing, you're building a game, etc. That's exactly what you do with sci-fi.
That's it.
You have to build the world.
Yeah.
And you have to build the language. And
Yeah.
you have to build the landscape.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically just taking everything from scratch and, building all the bits and, all the
Yeah.
bits and pieces attached to it.
Yeah.
From a town name to a language to
Everything.
the weather in a place. I mean,
Yes.
I'm busy reading the Witcher series.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm busy reading the book because I have issues with
The series.
No, I have issues with the current season of the series.
Okay.
That's a whole different
Other way.
conversation.
Yeah.
But I like certain sci-fi. I like certain fantasy writing.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm always fascinated by that.
Okay.
By the fact that you have to, down to, you're reading about the towns and the names of the rivers. And
yeah.
and they're invented.
Yeah. Let's take Game of Thrones. Like let's not talk about how it ended.
I never got into Game of Thrones.
We
It's
all very pissed off about it. But I've read the books and I watched the shows. World building, like G.R.R. Martin built even the language. There's a new language that exists. Like medicine, seed of poppy or whatever they call. Like that is how I'm fascinated by people's minds like that. But I always say, whether we realize it or not, we are always creating. We are creators as humans. The chair and the table we're sitting on didn't exist until somebody thought about it and created it.
So I'm of the belief that creativity, like every human being is creative.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
It's just how you manifest it.
Yeah.
I also believe in this idea of creative as a verb
Yes.
as opposed to as a noun.
Yes.
So the doing,
It's a
the being,
Yeah.
right? And we all, I mean, an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor.
Even mama who cooks at home. You
Yeah,
take
absolutely.
ingredients
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
fridge, you are creating something that didn't exist. We are every day as people, we are creating. And I think now we are in this new challenge of AI and whatever, which some people are scared of, some people are open to it. And that's where we are evolving. People are like, this is evolution. If you wanted to know what human evolution looks like, this is it. And we can't stop it. AI is here. Once we've opened that genie, the bottle, the genie is out, right? But it's about how we work with, navigate ourselves in this new dimension. So creative people like artists, writers, singers, think about the pandemic. Those were that I don't know why the pandemic happened, but one thing I know for sure, having observed, is that it reminded us that creativity is the one thing that matters most. Because then people were cooking, were dancing, were creating, when nothing else works and the world comes to a standstill and we can't do anything, we create, we tap into that creativity. That's what 2020 did, at least remind me, that
Rick
what's going to save humanity is creativity.
I don't know if you saw this clip. So Rick Rubin says, talking about AI, that he's like, I'm going to paraphrase, but essentially he's like, I follow art for a point of view. Right? So
like that.
the artist, in whatever form, has a point of view.
Yeah.
As a human being, that's what I'm connecting with.
Yes.
AI doesn't have a point of view.
Yes, 100%.
It's something that I've been, like, discussions around AI has been something that have been kind of at the forefront of my debates and my conversations and my thinking for a couple of years now. From like 4 or 5 years ago, when somebody said to me, as a writer, aren't you worried that you're going to lose your job? And today I'm still not worried. But I think it's tied to something else that I saw where they said, if you look at the children of the rich who do not have to work for money, and what do they often do? They often become artists.
Yes, 100%.
So that says that as a human being, when you do not have to worry about
Survival.
Yeah.
Your default mode
is being creative,
Yeah.
is manifesting manifesting your creativity.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where the world is going to go, but it does feel like there is this in little pockets and some of the spaces I interact with where it's like, okay, great, AI, we don't know whether AI is going to take everything over. And I am a mild skeptic. Because I believe that also technology, the hype around technology tends to be driven by VCs.
Yeah, correct.
Because it needs to be hyped up for them to get their value.
For them to cash in,
Yeah,
which is what they're doing.
So I mean, I've watched that. I used to write in technology, and I've always been interested in technology.
Yes,
I mean, I had an IT company in 1996, 97.
Before 1999, when we were all scared, remember that?
I even
bubble.
wrote a white paper for the Lesotho government because I was freaked out.
Yeah.
And my father was just like, relax.
Yeah.
And so like, we'll see.
We'll see.
None of us can really predict the future. But it is interesting that people do turn to the more traditional creative pursuits when they don't have to worry about paying the bills.
Right. But it's also the other way when people are struggling, depressed, grieving, going through a tough time, they also create.
But that's when you're compelled and you're like,
Yeah.
you're going to take the pain.
Yes, and
You're going to take the pain of not being able to live
yeah, and
because
turn
you
it-
because you
yeah.
need to.
yeah,
And I guess what you were talking about at the beginning was how do we then create a space and find that balance for those people? Because they don't necessarily have the tools to manage all of it.
no,
And how do we get them from, I can't remember, it might have been when I was talking to Siwela. But so I remember when I stopped being tormented by life.
yeah,
And I used to wonder whether I'd be able to write poetry the way I used to write poetry.
okay,
Because when I wrote, it came from a place of pain.
yeah,
And now I'm doing the work to sort out myself as a human being,
yeah,
to try and find balance and to be
happy.
a bit happier,
At
a bit more at
peace,
peace,
yes.
a bit more alignment.
And you worry whether
And
the
I was-
creativity
and I
will-
wondered,
yeah,
would I still be able to write?
yeah. I had the conversation with a writer, Malebo Sepodi. I don't know if you know her. She wrote a book called Misbehaved. She's amazing. She currently, I think, lives in Germany, very good friend. And I think last year I sent her a thing. I said, where they're like, when the blood in the street, something like writers. And she said, she's changed now. She writes from joy. She refuses to write from pain anymore. I love that. I think that's what I believe about artists. I really have a soft spot for artists, you know. And since I got into the industry, I was always interested not so much in building relationships with galleries and so forth. I've always built relationships with the artists that I've met along the way, who've become friends and so forth, that I love. And I just want to see them thrive. Most of them are doing so well. Like, we don't realize, if you're not in the art world, how powerful our artists are. And I'm talking contemporary art, right? You've got the likes of Zanele Moholi, who is worshipped around the world, literally. You've got the likes of Atipatra Ruga, who is doing, like, his works he is respected, loved, celebrated outside this country and in this country. We've got these people, for me, are superstars, you know. And I wish every young person in school knew their name, and they the way that they know pop artists and now influencers or whatever. Because these people are really the superstars. They are the ones who are doing the PR job for the country, right? The Tylers of this world, the artists of this world, the actors and so forth, the writers, they are the ones who are taking the South African story. Look at how popular South Africa is on TikTok right now. They are dancing our dances. They are, they're interested in everything that we are up to because we are funny, we are interesting, we laugh. Like South Africa, I spend a lot of time on TikTok. I find it so inspirational because it doesn't ask what level or how many followers. If you post something funny, the world will respond to it, even if they don't understand the language. And let's allow people to be, there's no degree, there's no how much money do you have, there's no class, race. It's just who we are as people. And when you said that, it's our default as humans.
So I personally, what I would like to see, because I look at over the years, I think also this like the ultimate kind of superstar thing. The problem with it is, the problem I have found is that there's only space for a few.
Yeah.
And
It's hierarchical.
but what's always interested me has been the people that, 1 billion people don't know about. but they've been in a space and they've been able to build a life and a career that is solid, that has a foundation, and they're able to do the things that they want to do and walk down the street and
Yeah.
do XYZ without reaching kind of superstar status.
Yeah.
Because
Fair.
there's only space for
Yeah. And also it changes people.
and there's there's a level beyond where you just get pulled into this capitalist system and therefore it becomes harder to make decisions.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're talking about like the artists that you're talking about, I think what's interesting is like you're quoting the ones who have been able to build the semblance of a decent life for themselves.
Yes.
And I think, and I've always felt like kind of watching from the outside, people like you have helped create that foundation.
Yeah.
Where today you have a lot more contemporary artists who have careers and lives, have a profession.
Yes.
As opposed to, I mean, I remember 20 years ago, being in the poetry scene. And
there was always this thing, struggling artists. Remember, like if once you choose that life, then you must know that you're going to die a struggling artist. And that's been...
And we still have them,
Yeah.
but at least we have the alternative.
Yeah.
And people can see that, hey, actually... I remember going to art fair this year and saying what I liked about it was they had small galleries from around the region.
Yeah.
And I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked that you had that kind of diversity in the space.
Yeah.
And they also had the opportunity to come and show in a more developed art market.
Yes, correct.
Because of, I mean, it's also the legacy of apartheid, like history, et cetera.
Yeah.
At least there's more galleries, there's a bit more of an established space.
Yeah.
But from like I said, from the outside, I look at it and go, at least there are now some people who are living with a very different lens.
Yes.
From what it used to be.
I agree with that, and that's it's the thing I live, breathe, eat. It's so important to me. I believe that we are so blessed and lucky in this continent to have the level of creativity that we have, right? How I wish... Firstly, I wish we didn't have governments, but that's a story for another day. But how I wish our government could invest. It's such a low-hanging fruit, the creative economy. It needs a little bit of attention and investment, and I am telling you, it could do so much for the economy. It is such a pity that we have a minister and a president, whoever, and who don't know the gold mine that we're sitting with, that is the creative economy. It is powerful. I mean, I look at Cape Town Art Fair. I launched Women Who Collect during Cape Town Art Fair because I live there and I love them. I work very closely with the team there. But the world of art from every corner descends on Cape Town, right? And the relationships that are built, the exchange of money and relationships and business and commerce, and there is the ripple effect of just that one thing, same as Joburg Art Fair. It is so powerful that if it was properly invested in, if it was properly protected, nurtured, it could benefit so many in so many ways. We are literally fighting about a whole lot of other things, yes, that are important, but there's a gold mine here that that the government is not investing in. First of all, clubbing the ministry into sport and arts and culture is wrong. Sport must stay on its own. They are two completely different things, and arts and culture deserves its own person, and deserves somebody who loves art, who collects art, who understands what art is. I feel like that portfolio has been so mismanaged. and under-resourced, looked down upon, but it's the one gold mine that could, if it works closely with tourism, it could help change the fortunes of this country and the continent. Look at Lagos, They have Art Lagos, which happened, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. But also they have issues of infrastructure. Somebody wrote about it on social media the other day. You saw that, right?
The missed
opportunities.
Yes, I saw that.
Right? So we are giving all this away. We are literally bleeding opportunity and money because it's there. It's staring us in the face. We're just not making the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I become less pessimistic and a bit more optimistic as I've grown older. And it's kind of like we have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of stuff going on. I mean, the thing that always fascinates me is if you look at, and it's across the board, music, art, etc. And you look on screens around the world and it's people are descended from, they're from the continent, their families moved. They're first generation, second generation maybe. And it's comedians and it's like American, European, etc. But at least we're starting to, some of us are starting to see what you're talking about and recognize and do something.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. So, I mean, when I moved here and I started getting involved in the poetry scene in particular, I realized very early that I could not depend on government because I'm not South African.
Yeah.
And I'm an African male, which for me is right at the bottom.
Yeah.
Even after white South African man.
Of course.
So a lot of the things that I did, I knew that I had to depend on myself and the people around me, like the people I knew. And I think because of that thinking, I automatically kind of go, okay, but Nisha's doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there's all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's a problem. But we can't change it.
No, of course.
Right? So let's focus over.
And I the thing is, these artists, we are doing it, we are succeeding in spite of these situations, and we'll continue. All I'm saying is that it's such a pity that I wish there was a focus on it because it could benefit the country.
Look,
it could benefit the economy.
There's a document that did the rounds about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was tied to Gauteng, but then also nationally. I think it was called The Golden Economy. So it was creative industries. It was an official document around the creative
authored
industry.
by? Do you know?
Came from, I think it came from government or it was commissioned by government.
Okay.
So I still have a copy of this document.
Can you share? I'd love
I'll find
to.
it. So,
which
talked about exactly what you're talking about. And not even 10 years ago. I'm talking like maybe 15 years ago.
Sure. That's
the last time I probably looked at it was 10 years ago.
Was that during Thabo Mbeki? Probably.
Not even sure.
That sounds like...
But there was a document that was done which unpacks everything you're talking about. So the arts.
Yeah.
And all aspects of the arts.
Yes,
So it included,
all of it. Music,
it included literature, it included...
all of it.
All of it. And I think it was tied to Gauteng, but the whole thing was, yes, there is an opportunity here.
Huge.
And there continues to be an opportunity. And it's kind of like, yeah, okay, it hasn't happened, but at the same time, when you look around,
things are happening
in its own little, like in the little pockets. There are things happening,
and I love that we are out here. I'm not an artist, but we need more Black people. We need more women in the art ecosystem, right? For me, that's where I really feel like we need more of us. There are a lot of Black people as artists, they're great, but we need the people who are in the business, which is where I operate, in the business of the arts. I've just finished, I was given an incredible opportunity by the Two Roads Foundation. That's why I've been doing the up and downs, coming to Joburg, where we started a 6-week residency for artists. Two Roads it's an engineering company, a Black-owned engineering company. The owner, the chairman, happens to be a very big art collector. And then we met at Strauss one Saturday afternoon, had lunch, that turned into a very long conversation. And we ended up with this 6-week where we called for applications, 200. And we did it, we opened it only for a week. 200 artists applied. And we could only whittle it down to 7. 4 we put through the 6-week residency. The other 3 we did it outside, right? And they were housed at the Vaal, at his farm, which is right on the banks of the Vaal River. And I put together like a weekly mentoring session. So we took them to JAG, we took them to Tech, which is the arts company South Africa, about printing processes, about, we did something at Aspire, we did something with Nicholas Hlobo, who's one of the most incredible artists, a mentorship at his studio. And then it culminated in the exhibition that we held on Friday and an auction, which went so beautifully, so successful. The work, we will share the pictures with you guys. The work, I've been emotional this whole weekend because we did it. This whole thing of investing in young talent, giving them the space, taking them from their environments into a very peaceful farm by the river, allowing them. And Two Roads invested their food, their accommodate everything, making sure that they lack for nothing, materials to we ran around looking. And this was my first time putting together a residency and running a residency. And then seeing it culminate into an exhibition and an auction and people buying the art. This has just finished now. I am the most, I'm the most happiest girl right now because I've been given the opportunity to do that, and something that I truly believed in. And working with people who really invested in the artists. I mean, Kingsley, who is the chairman of Two Roads, I'm so proud of him and his team and how much they invested. They're an engineering company, have nothing to do with art. But as a foundation, they deemed it necessary to invest in these artists. These artists are all going back home from today, tomorrow, after this 6-week. It's ended up being 8 weeks now because then we were preparing for the exhibition. What an incredible, incredible process. One of the artists used to sell for 10,000. Her artwork sold for 70,000. She was crying. It's been the most incredible thing I've ever been a part of. And that's all I want to do with my life. That's why I'm in the space.
How do you level the playing fields in terms of the language? Because there was an existing art ecosystem in South Africa. And you are now, as a Black woman, you have come into that ecosystem. You are changing it, you're
challenging it.
You're challenging it, you're influencing it, you're helping it evolve.
Yeah.
But there's still a certain language to it. And a lot of people will come into Black, colored, Indian, Europeans, whatever, and it's like you all come in and you find a common language. Whereas for the layperson, I include myself in there. Like, I know a bit more than most, but I still interact on how it makes me feel.
Yes.
I don't understand brushstrokes and all of these things.
Yeah.
Like, And I'll go into those spaces. And I was having a whole conversation with some people around Art Fair in Joburg. And an artist had written some scathing.
Yes,
some
so we saw that.
Yeah,
What was
so
it called?
I can't,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But it was a scathing article,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I'm part of a group, and the one friend was asking the other friend who's in the space
Yeah.
what he felt about it.
Yeah.
And I jumped in. I was like, okay, well, guys, I went and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And this is what I liked about it. And what this person is talking about, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But I'm also I'm not part of the inner circle.
Yeah.
So the little disagreements and the tensions and all of those things,
I don't get
I don't get. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so what I do with art fairs, there's the VIP Thursday evening
Yeah.
where people just catch up.
Yeah.
And so what I normally do is I'll pick a day on the weekend
Yeah.
and I'll go alone
Yeah.
and I'll take my headphones and I'll put on my music and I'll literally just go through the whole thing. So this year I did it on a Saturday. I was there for 5.5 hours.
Yeah. You'd be surprised that I do the same. So I do go to the VA because I'm in the space,
Yeah.
But I know that I'm there to air kiss and catch up and drink champagne and see people I haven't seen and so forth. But I always go on the Sunday by myself. I like to wear a hat or a cap, and walk. I try and be incognito, but I can't because then I know the galleries and I'm also now catching up. But it's also a good time and I hear what the sales were like. So that's my ritual. I always go on the Thursday and do what I do. And also with Cape Town Art Fair, I do tours. With Women Who Collect, we're very involved with we do an event, a fringe event where I bring together global women who are coming to the art fair. We host them. We do a lunch at the Mount Nelson every year in the garden, where we as women get together and we invite like a prominent artist, because my whole thing is bridging the gap between collector and artist. If you ask me what do you do, without having to go into a big explanation, that's my mission in life, is to bridge the gap between artists and collectors.
But
And
how do you-
because galleries, I found, have been such gatekeepers sometimes.
But how do you develop? So there's finding collectors, right? And bringing the collectors to the space. Collectors of the disposable income, they're one degree of separation away, right? So which is like you. With somebody who, like, I'll use myself for example. I appreciate a lot of art. Can't afford most of it.
Youth, okay, yeah.
No, I can't. Like, in terms of, and it's not a kind of being rich or not being rich or whatever. It's like, okay, I am your average middle class person. I've been in prominent spaces and we're sitting here on my podcast, but if we just look at it as I'm your average middle class, wife, 2 kids,
Yeah.
Rent a place. I appreciate certain things.
Yeah.
I have school fees to pay. I have this. I have, and I also like nice things. And I may see an artwork that I really like,
And then you look at the price.
and I look at the price, and it's not to say, it's like the whole conversation around, let's say, African luxury, and the whole all the debates around Tsepo jeans and Matkosa and all of these things.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's expensive. I'm saying what it's priced that I can't afford. It should be priced like I'm not disputing what it's priced at.
I'm with you. Yeah.
It's more going, okay.
When I look at myself.
When I look at myself.
And,
So there's an
you
artist.
have other priorities.
Yeah. So there's an artist I talked to on the podcast about 2 years ago, Loazi Klope. And I don't think he works with gallery. But for example, he has payment plans.
Yeah.
Very simple thing.
Yeah.
And when he told me about it, I was like, actually, yeah.
So There are a couple of things that I think that's why I am doing what I am doing, trying to bridge the gap and so forth. And with women who collect specifically, I always say I am interested in, I'm talking to women who that are already collectors or curious about collecting. So I'm not excluding a person who hasn't started a collection, a person who may not buy art now, but they will buy it in a year's time. How you build, I think that was your question. How do you build a collector? How do you find these collectors and build? It's about bringing people who have, like someone like yourself. You have to bring them into the space by getting them to meet the artists. Get to know the artists, love the art, see the behind the scenes of how this whole thing works, right? And you start small. Art starts from 500 rand to 500 million. As a collector, if you're curious, you literally start small. It's like how if you want to buy a luxury brand, you want the Chanel bag, but you can't afford it, but you can afford the Chanel sunglasses. That's how you start. Okay. So there are cheaper, not cheap, but maybe the artist is still young, fresh from school. For example, someone like Neo Matlucha, who just showed at Stevenson, had a solo show, has been in Amsterdam for the last 10 years. And I remember when he started, 10 years ago, we met at Joburg Art Fair, and his prices were quite nice and reasonable, right? And now he is this huge artist. The prices have gone. And you know what I mean? You start, and I think this is where we are challenging the ecosystem. We need to make people know the reality of, and the artists, once you get to know the artists, that's why I take collectors to art studios to see the behind the scenes of how the artists, I do dinners. During Joburg Art Fair, we did a dinner with Blessing Gobeni, for people to know him, the man behind the work and what he's about and so forth. Obviously, we worked with his gallery, they knew we were doing this and so forth. But it's about that closing that gap and removing this gatekeeping of information and access. And there are payment plans. Some galleries do allow you to pay things through. It's just that I also didn't know until I was in the space that even white people, as rich as they are, some of them, they do take payment plans with art. It's just that it's information. It's information that we don't have, because there isn't a lot of people who look like me and you in that ecosystem, right? So that's the change that we are talking about and seeing. So we've got women who collect, but we are launching something new called the Collector. Now it's the first time we talk about it. This is where we bring all the collectors. And it's very much information driven. There's going to be a booklet about how to collect, the very thing about language and, things that you just basic information about collecting, things you need to think about, insurance, things, archiving, I'm sharing secrets now that, we're still working on things like that.
It's important. I mean, there's a gentleman in the US. We've never met, but I mean, we've been interacting on social media for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And I think about a year or two ago, he shifted to focusing on art, focusing on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And for example, he has a newsletter.
Nice.
Where he'll talk about these things. He'll go to an exhibition and kind of go, oh, here are the interesting, and it's usually Black artists primarily. Here are the interesting people in terms of this is where the person's on their journey. Yes. But he's also started talking about things like you're talking about, like insurance, et cetera, et cetera.
How to maximize the value of your collection. There's so much information, like even this thing that you can lay by that people don't know. Yeah. So we want to create like a booklet that we will keep sharing with, and it's called it's the Collector with TA, right? Okay. it's collecting African art. Yeah, and also making it very South African that we are working on. So that's the mission. That's the job I've given myself, and that I'm very proud of. And that I think that we need to bring each other along in this journey, because white people do it. They help each other with information and so forth. We need to do that for one another, and that's how we grow.
What are your thoughts on, so, I mean, we have new generations of artists, right? You find that the younger artists sometimes have a more commercial lens.
Yeah.
In terms of being able to look at their art, and they can be proficient, fine artists or whatever it is, but see where the additional revenue streams are.
Yes.
And I mean,
I'm so glad you're bringing that up.
there's a particular young artist, and I know his mother. I've known his mother for years, so I've been watching him. And I mean, I own a couple of T-shirts of his. I own a print. I decided to, because I'm supporting a nephew. So I was like, no, let me spend a bit more on on a print, like a small piece. But I've been watching him, and I've been watching other young artists, and they have, because this is their world and it's structured a particular way, and they understand it better.
Yeah.
I've talked to one or two older artists, and it's like, for them, it's kind of like they're selling out.
Yeah.
Whereas for the kid, they're like, yo, like, if I can make sneakers, if I can make a T-shirt, if I can, I still do my art, and I'm still approaching it with whatever of me, if I was only painting.
You know what it is? It's that generational thing that we spoke about. The purists still have that thing, art, you must remember we grew up knowing the struggling artist, the struggling writer. It's as if there's purity in struggle, but we know better now. You want people who are happy and healthy and not always on the bridge, on the edge of suicide. And we've had enough of that. There's been a lot of pain, sometimes, and we come from a very difficult, I always say we as South Africans all need to go to therapy, because we as a country, as a continent, I think we've gone through a lot. And there's remnants of those things, even in the work, in the art and so forth. The young generation know that I'm an artist. I am a brand. I have something to say, and I'll use different vehicles. And I encourage that. Remember, I come from marketing, so they're speaking my language. And I love that, For example, Lulama Wolf, she is the face of Trenery.
Yeah, so
I love that. She does amazing art. You can't, she's not compromising her art, but she has to live. She has to work with brands. I support that very much. There's a young artist I love, Bonolo Kavula, and I was saying at a talk at the Novel Foundation Museum in Cape Town, I said, there's a cosmetic brand. She's a beautiful girl, but she does amazing art. A cosmetic brand should be sponsoring her, because she's beautiful, but she's also got a point of view. What Rick Rubin said, that you said earlier.
Yeah.
You support the artist because of their point of view.
Yeah.
And you want those people, I wish they would take money from influencers, sorry, apologies, don't come for me, and give it to people who are really have a strong sense of self. Because to have a point of view, you have to have a strong sense of self. So but it's a generational thing.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing the right thing. I want more artists to do that. Artists must get paid. It pains me that artists, an artist was saying to me, you look at my art and your collector, the artist's life is so poor, and they go and sit in a millionaire's house. There is a dissonance there that is so,
Yeah, absolutely.
And the gap is too wide. It's not even like, I'm not saying we will all be billionaires, and it's not possible. Like you say, we can't all be rich and famous. And that system was not created to be like that. It's created on scarcity, right?
Yeah.
If we all had money, then there wouldn't be any rich people. Like,
No, it's also, I mean, it's great, like you said, it's created on scarcity and it's created on a particular system.
yeah, exclusion, all of
yeah,
that.
that is designed a particular way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hear you. Like an artist and a CEO and a doctor and a accountant and a waiter should be able to sit around a table because of a common interest.
Yeah.
And nobody's less than or better than.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And each should be comfortable in their own lives in terms of the opportunities that they've had, what they can do.
Yeah.
We always want more.
Yeah.
But at least knowing that, okay, so I grew up so for me, at some stage, growing up in Maseru, it was that when I partied, it didn't matter what you did for a living. Mm-hmm. When we interacted, it had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So we didn't even, that, okay, that guy's a waiter, but that guy steals cars, and that guy's a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, that.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
It's not the basis of our interaction.
Yes.
Like there was a certain element of respect and acknowledgement that I see you.
Yeah.
And that you see me.
Yeah.
And that was the common feature.
Whereas here, the artists are living in such poor conditions, yet they are producing works so their work, their pain, their story is powerful enough to sit in a millionaire's house, yet they are not good enough to just live a normal life, a middle class, comfortable. Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. Let's take care of our artists, guys. It's good for all of us. It's good for the economy. There's a study that came out recently, I think done by the BBC, that looking at art is actually good for your mental health. It's a proper research that's out there. Art is good for all of us, and I would like, as a girl from Soweto, there was no art gallery. How I ended up in this world, there was there was none of this. I encountered art much, much later in my life, yet I cannot imagine life without it. It was always there. There's that. There were those photos, and you don't know who they. But it was always there. Also, art from an African perspective was never about the white wall. That's a Western concept, right? And I always speak about removing, taking art beyond the white walls. For us, if you think back, Mapungubwe, which is 1500s?
Yeah.
1500s. There was art, and it was part of either rituals or part of ornaments. And so art has the Benin sculptures, which are even older, right? Art has always been part of our lives.
We lived it. It was never... it was something that we appreciated, something that we admired. It may have been tied to ritual, but it was a part of us and our lives and how we interact with the world. It's like that whole conversation around where all of a sudden, all of our stuff got put in craft.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh no, we're going to create this section called art.
Yeah.
And for what you've created to fall within this thing, it needs to fulfill a criteria that we know about.
We have to decide.
But you don't know what that criteria is. It's... Yeah. I guess, that's the history that we're dealing with. That's
the legacy.
That's the journey that we're on.
That's a beautiful
as we're starting to take greater ownership of it.
Yeah.
And, you talk about, I briefly met Yenka at Design Indaba.
Yeah.
And I actually interviewed him. But even that experience for me, because I weirdly never attended Design Indaba, and then I was one of the hosts for 3 years in a row.
Wow.
With Michael Beirut and Michelle Constant.
Okay.
And so I got to not only experience every single talk on stage, but in the evenings
You
and
build
in
relationship,
between,
yes,
hang
yeah,
out and
yeah.
talk to these people. And I remember then kind of looking at and going, but it's a chair,
Yeah. Right?
right? And now, like, you look at what he's created.
Oh my goodness.
And I also had to do some growing up to understand that, yes, it's a chair, but it's also art.
Yeah.
It's also
He's telling a
it's
story
also- it's
using
also-
the chair
exactly.
as the medium. He was telling the Yoruba story using the chair as that's what artists do. They tell a story using either sculpture or a painting or a photograph or a book or a poem or a film or a she's a filmmaker, by the way. So that's what artists do. They tell a story using certain mediums, and it's stories that these are stories that heal us. These are stories that anger us and get us to act. These are stories that challenge our perception of things. These are stories that tell us. My whole thing about art is that art is like it's about a time and a place, right? It tells of a time and a place, such that when you and I are no longer here, the people who are alive during our time are busy telling our story.
Yeah.
Even what you are doing, this is art, because you are capturing a moment in time. My life, your life, your guest's life, it's captured so that it lives beyond us.
Yeah.
That's art.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. One last thing. I'm working on a very exciting project where we're raising funds for the Nelson Mandela Children's Hospital, doing an auction in February. So art and philanthropy and giving back, I think that's another part of art that I love, where we can really reach out and help. So that's a project I'm super excited on. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this conversation. Please leave a review and subscribe. Check out the show notes for links to the guest, the podcast, and myself. I hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation as much as I enjoyed having it.